Hello, everybody, and welcome to Final Whistle. Kevin Walsh alongside David Giacomino, keeping you guys up to date on all of the moves this offseason around the MLB. Two hitters switching teams. Obviously, one, I would say, making room for the other. So we'll start with the piece that initiated everything. That's Starlin Castro getting moved to the New York Yankees. Obviously, last year, the Yankees' second base was a question all year long. They really just had no stability there. The batting average amongst that position was just absolutely atrocious. They go out, they get Starlin Castro, used to be at shortstop, moved over to second for the Cubs. Looks like he'll probably be playing second base for the Yankees. That's what all the reports are. Your thoughts on the move?
I think for the price they paid, it's a pretty good move. But I wouldn't. Everyone calls Starlin Castro a rising star, and he's been in the league for a couple of years now, and we never had that breakout season. No 20 plus homers and 90 RBIs. But like I said, it is an upgrade. I would have liked to see Rep Schneider get a shot at second base because we haven't seen him get a full blown playing time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still an upgrade, and for the price they paid of Adam Warren, he's a back end of the rotation guy, or he can come out of the bullpen. I think it's a pretty good move.
Yeah, I think the price was right. Obviously, they picked up the remainder of Castro's contract, which was big because, again, a lot of people thought that eventually he would really be, top three shortstop in the league. Hasn't really happened yet. But I definitely like the move. Last year, Stephen Drew was batting under 200 for almost the entire season. Starlin Castro, at his worst, is still going to bat at least 250. And the thing is, when he made that move to second base last year, he looked a lot better. He seemed pretty comfortable there. And that's really the biggest thing for the Yankees is because Didi Gregorius in the second half was honestly a top five shortstop. Numbers-wise, his glove really picked up, and they trust him there. If Starlin Castro can play the way that he looked at second base, and that's what they're really hoping and banking on. I think that that's a good move. The good point you made, though, is Rob Refsnyder. What is his future with the team? Does he get traded now, or is he going to be more their utility man? If Starlin needs a day, he plays second. If Didi needs a day, Castro will play short, and then Refsnyder will play second. I think that's probably going to be more towards his future.
And I think the big thing here that we see from the Yankees is finally youth. They have youth somewhere in the infield and just all on the team. Castro's young, Gregorius is young, Headley's pretty young, and they got Bird coming up. This is finally a new generation that's coming for the Yankees, and it's a good start with Castro. And then hopefully we'll see that if they make more moves in the offseason, but Castro's a good start.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't know if the Yankees are done, right? I mean, it would be, you would assume that
there's a lot of rumblings of Andrew Miller being moved.
And I think that's not super surprising because Yankees are one of the few teams that can put their 8 guy in the 9 hole and really feel like there's not that big of a gap, if any. Because Dellin Betances is as good as they get in this league right now. And Andrew Miller would definitely bring back a really nice return, you would like to believe. I think the question, though, is going to be where else do the Yankees make moves? I think Todd Frazier, obviously being openly shopped by the Cincinnati Reds. Do the Yankees maybe make a move for him? I think he could be a good fit, but again,
I think Headley.
Is he? How much do they like Headley? I think that's the question. I think there's still a lot of things to ask about the Yankees. But Starlin Castro is the move that they make, and Castro being moved opened up the obvious middle infield for the Chicago Cubs. The young guys in Javier Baez and Addison Russell could have been the middle infield. They ink Ben Zobrist, 4 years, $56 million. And the interesting thing was this was the exact same contract offered to him by the New York Mets. That we saw a lot of interest from the Mets, and he seemed to be pretty interested. Coming to New York as well. What ended up really being the deciding factor was Castro being moved. It opened up the position for the Cubs and him wanting to be with Joe Maddon.
Yeah, and Zobrist came out and said that this wasn't about the money. This was about familiarity, the comfort he has with Joe Maddon and the city of Chicago. He grew up in Chicago, and he said he was very serious about going to the Mets. But when Chicago made a late push, he's like, oh, how can I pass this up? It's close to his actual home, and it's where he grew up. So it was a win-win for him in this situation. He got paid. He's able to go with Joe Maddon, and the team is going to contend for a World Series. So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I think that people are forgetting a little bit, and I think that everyone's kind of at mercy of it too. It happened with Pablo Sandoval, not as much with Ben Zobrist. The contract wasn't as outrageous as what Sandoval got. But in the regular season, he's not a 300 hitter. He's a good hitter, and he can play every position outside of pitcher and catcher. But he's more of a
He's
280 guy.
Yeah, he's a professional player, and he's a good role model for those guys on the Cubs.
And that's the thing that I'm saying. When I think the biggest thing that that's what I was going to say, is that Zobrist will add leadership to the team.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing they were lacking last year, especially in the playoffs. And when they were down, they had nobody to turn to on that organization. And now they bring in two guys like Lackey and Ben Zobrist. Now
been there, done that.
That's leadership.
I love that move for the Cubs. I think it works out. But the question now, the Mets. I mean,
they go out and get Neil Walker for John Neese. I think that's a win-win for both teams. It fills a need on both sides. And Neil Walker, he's a solid hitter. He's not gonna hit for average, but he's got some pop. 15 to 20 homer guy, and he could drive in some runs, and that's what the team needs right now.
And I think that this is obviously, they moved John Neese, and there's been a lot of talk about that. John Neese had some, a decent amount of money on the back end of his contract, and they shipped that off.
One thing though, his comments were very interesting. So when these two teams play, and if he pitches, it's going to be, cause he can't, I don't know if you saw, he came out and said, the biggest thing that I'm going to be looking forward to is playing behind the Pittsburgh Pirates defense, having them behind me. So that's kind of a shot towards the Mets. So.
Well, I mean, and that's its own storyline. But thinking about the Mets and for the remainder of the offseason, they chop off the back end of that contract of John Neese, Neil Walker, significantly cheaper than what Daniel Murphy would have been, and Ben Zobrist. When you really think about it, obviously this means that Daniel Murphy is going to be playing with a new ball club. Zobrist signed. Neil Walker is going to be their second baseman, between probably Ruben Tejada and Wilmer Flores at the shortstop position.
With the signing a Cabrera,
as well, they signed Asdrubal Cabrera.
So I think he's going to be the guy at short. And I think there's going to be a platoon between Walker and Flores at second base. That's what it looks like. They could go Walker full time, but Flores does hit lefties better than Neil Walker. So
all right. So say that is the middle infield. I mean, the Mets still have money. There is still money to be spent there. Obviously, they are historically now seeming to get a reputation for not wanting to spend, and some people are letting the Wilpons off the hook by saying, well, you're going to have to pay all our pitchers and, don't blow all our money. But there's money to be spent, and there's money that should be spent this offseason.
There's still holes in this team. They need a center fielder. They need a real setup man, and they need more of a bullpen. Their guys in the bullpen aren't going to get the job done right now. So in the 8th inning, are you confident in the guy you're sending out right now? Addison Reed, he had his ups and downs. I don't know if I'm be clear cut, you're my 8th inning guy. I think they need to go out and get somebody.
Well, I think that I couldn't agree more. Bullpen definitely needs to be addressed by this team. I'm going to be honest with you, as much of a knucklehead as he's been, getting Mejia, and I know he's still missing a bunch of games, good move. I like the move. He was pretty good for the Mets, and I think that when he gets back, if he's going to be pitching with an edge, I think him being the 8th inning guy before Familia could be great, or the 7th inning guy if they go out and make the move. The question, though, and you say they need a center fielder, and that's probably the question, the position that jumps out the most, because Duda's first. Obviously, no one's going to take right spot. We just talked about the middle infield between d'Arnaud and Pilecki catching. If you need defense, you'd probably go Pilecki. Offense, d'Arnaud. The corner outfields, Conforto, Granderson. So it's that center field position, Juan Lagares. People saying he needs Tommy John. Apparently, he doesn't want to get it. Do the Mets just say, you know what, let's just sign Cespedes back? I heard reports that the contract he was looking for, and I'm not sure how accurate. Obviously, rumors are rumors, but I heard he's looking 5 years, $100 million, $20 a year for Yoenis Cespedes. I would have had him, to a deal,
inked out right away. But,
but I don't know how true that is. I would expect Cespedes to look for a little bit more money than that.
He came out in August and said he wanted a 6-year deal, and right away the Mets were not willing to go that far on him because we saw at the end of that last year. He's a bit of a lazy and. He does have his ups and downs, and when he's hot, he's hot. He can change a ball club. So I think is he a game changer, and I think the Mets should go out and get him? Absolutely. If they have the money to go get him, then they should absolutely get him.
Yeah, but I think, more and more, I think when we first spoke about it, we said, hey, Cespedes has to go and Murphy has to go. That's just how it's going to be. But now maybe Cespedes works, or, maybe a Justin Upton Maybe he can come and play center, or even
Put Granderson back in center.
put Granderson in center and Jason Hayward. There are actually a decent amount of outfielders out there, and I think that is where the Mets should put the money that they have left at, and maybe. I'm a really big proponent of Juan Lagares, but he has to get the surgery. He has to.
Yeah,
and you're going to need someone there.
We saw
And I love Juan Lagares as a fourth outfielder.
It was huge. Like last year, 2 years ago, if a ball was hit the center field and there was a guy at second base, they didn't even think about it. They were not going.
Yeah.
And it was a completely different change in a ball hit the center field last year. No, they were go, and he was throwing 3 hoppers to home plate, and that's not horrible, but for him, he was throwing line drive bullets to center, and it was an easy Gold Glove, and it was not a question when he won that Gold Glove, and he was a completely different player on both fielding and hitting. So it's got to be done. He's got to get the surgery.
And that's why I think Cespedes, Hayward, and Upton, I think they could all be great signings. I would assume Cespedes and Hayward.
There's a lot of teams interested in the outfield market, though.
Yeah.
The Angels, Baltimore, San Francisco.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition for these guys, and I don't think the Mets would get in the bidding war for any of these guys.
But I think that they should maybe be smart. Excuse me. Maybe be smart about this. We spoke about the Detroit Tigers and what an amazing move they made by getting Jordan Zimmerman before all of this stuff started. Realistically, the Tigers would have never been able to ink him after what happened with Greinke and Price, because the Giants would have went crazy high in the price tag, and they just wouldn't have been able to match it. If the Mets can get in there before everyone else, maybe they take Justin Upton, while people are going to say we're going to put more money towards Cespedes and Hayward, and maybe let him be their guy. I think it's not a bad option.
No, it wouldn't. It would be a significant upgrade to what they have right now, and it's definitely something they should look into.
Well, we're going to have to see how that pans out. Kevin Walsh, David Giacomino, we'll see you guys next time.